You could probably find a worse sci-fi movie than this, but I bet you couldn't find one more boring than this. It's day 146 out of 365. Today's movie, The Darkest Hour. Yes, I cracked a tooth. If you want to help pay for my dentistry, head over to patreon.com/TicketStubMovieClub. We have these daily reviews posted a day early there, as well as monthly deep dives, my whole book, and more. This one's directed by Chris Gorak. It stars Emile Hirsch, Olivia Thirlby, and Joel Kinnaman, and is probably going to end up being the worst movie of this 2012 list. It came and went without leaving a single dent. Most people don't even know what I'm talking about when I mention this movie, and I have to specifically say it is not the Gary Oldman Darkest Hour movie. This is The Darkest Hour. January is often dump month for movies, and this is one of those dumps. I actually went to see this one in theaters because there was nothing else to see, and it made such an impact on me as a bad movie that I saw in theaters that it ended up on Film Rescue years later, where we tried to rescue this one. I don't know how good that episode is, though. That show was about picking movies that had cool premises but didn't quite deliver on them, and that's kind of this whole movie. I'm actually probably going to end up stealing a bunch of my positives from that podcast just to make this episode work. Revisiting this in 2025, I had forgotten just how lifeless and how much of a slog this movie was. There are a bunch of cool ideas, like there's creativity on display here. It almost ends up feeling like a Metro Last Light movie if they had done a really bad job and also never put you in the tunnels. Actually, the Russian subway system would have added a lot to this movie besides the single scene that happens in and around that location. This one's stealing ideas from War of the Worlds and Predator and just mashing it into this sci-fi mishmash. And I guess I don't want to be too negative, so let me point out three things that I at least enjoyed about The Darkest Hour. The first thing that I at least kind of like about this movie is the protagonist swap that happens through the film. Now, this is a spoiler if you've never seen the movie. I don't know if you're going to want to check this one out because it is not very good. But if you planned on checking it out, this is the time to check away for a minute. Emile Hirsch is set up as our secondary character to the protagonist. He's the buddy, and he's kind of a shithead at the beginning of the movie. This is a normal setup for this era. We understand the Michael Cera, Jonah Hill setup where one of them is eager and earnest and the other one's kind of a shitty person, but they get along really well because they've been friends for a long time. This movie inverts that by having Emile Hirsch take over the protagonist role after our first main protagonist is killed off halfway through the movie. It's kind of crazy. It's actually a little past the halfway point too, making a lot of the deaths in this movie kind of unpredictable. You really never know who's going to go next because partly some of the characters just aren't developed enough for us to know how long they would last within the story. But also, I think there's a purposefulness behind this. I want to give them credit where credit is due, and it seems like they wanted to at least try doing a protagonist inversion. This is not something that you see happen often in movies, so it was cool to at least see the attempt here, right? The second thing that I kind of liked about this movie was the idea of a non-biological alien threat. Now, we've seen this in different ways across movies. I think of Titan AE specifically with an energy-based extraterrestrial alien. Now, there's also biological aliens in that movie as well. We don't have to get lost in the weeds. But what I kind of liked about the writing here is that we learned as the movie goes, these aliens are here for minerals. They might even eat the minerals, and just getting rid of the humans is getting rid of the pests in the way. We're kind of cockroaches to them, and their technology is so much far surpassed ours that they're not even in our visible light spectrum. Now, we find out that that's because of their shielding a little later on, which is kind of a cool twist too. I like the idea of that it's a little bit like Predator, that they can cloak themselves and use that energy to disguise themselves from specifically our biologically evolved eyes that can't see through that light spectrum. These are all really cool ideas, but there's nothing explaining it to us. We're just getting it kind of gifted to us across the movie in little morsels, and I just wish there was that much more. It is better in general to leave your audience wanting more, but in this case, there's just not enough for it to make sense. I really had to watch this movie a couple times to fully understand what they were aiming for here at all, because it's just not well explained. The third and final thing that I guess I like about this movie, if there was a reason for a ticket of entry, it is the idea of getting the Russians together. About halfway through the second act, as we go into the third act, we're introduced to a group of like military-esque mercenary Russian guys, and they're awesome. Honestly, the whole movie should have been based around them. That would have been much more interesting, probably more similar to like Battle LA, but in Russia. That's the movie within the movie that I wish we were seeing, but at least we get a little bit of time with them. It actually ends up being most of the Russian characters that I prefer more. Like Sergei and his electro microwave guns are so cool. They're not super realistic, but it's a fun little addition for a bright spot, at least, in this otherwise super boring ass sci-fi movie. But what do you think? Did you like The Darkest Hour? Did anybody even see this? I feel like I was one of the few people that even saw it. I forced a podcast full of people to watch it just so we could try to pitch a better version. But I'm curious what you think. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. For our next movie, we're going to switch from sci-fi to horror, and we're talking about The Devil Inside next. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow.